everybody's checked their cell phones and have them on vibrate. I'll check my own. And second year, Coach Muschamp.
Well, we're excited to get started. Reporting day to day, and obviously eager to start practice tomorrow morning. Just kind of an update on our roster. Jordan Rhodes was cleared last week, so he's here, and excited to get Jordan on campus. Keeson Nixon, I believe, will be cleared tomorrow or Tuesday. Everything's done. It's just a matter of going through the official process. And then Jordan Carty, I believe, will be cleared sometime in August. It will not be in the near couple weeks. It probably will be the third or fourth week of August before we're able to work through that process. Corey Banks is going to move to corner. I met with Corey this morning and felt like moving forward be the best situation for him and our football team. He'll be number 23 tomorrow while you're at camp at practice. Injury update, Jalen Dickerson has a little bit of a nerve strain in his shoulder. He sustained this in spring practice, and it's caused some weakness and some pain in his shoulder. He will be non-contact. He's going to be fine. It's just a matter of, if you've ever dealt with nerves before, of when this is going to kind of regenerate itself and be fine. And it's could be a week, could be a week and a half. We're not really sure right now. It's been very frustrating for him, and so a young man that's worked extremely hard, and we need for him to be healthy for us in the secondary. But he's going to be fine. Casey Crosby had a scope on his meniscus. He's day-to-day. He will be cleared, I think, sometime in the first week. He had it, I think, 2 weeks ago. But he's progressing extremely well. And Randricus Davis had some fluid on his groin removed. He's day-to-day again. I think he's like KC. I think he'll be cleared in the first 3 or 4 days of practice to be full go. Still in summer school, so we have some guys at practice you may not see, like tomorrow morning. Malik Young has got a class conflict. Caleb Kinlaw's got to leave practice. So as you're out at practice, and I know how you are, you pull your rosters out and figure out who's not there, and then we come up with these great grand stories about what happened to a young man. And so we do have some class conflicts, and our guys do go to school here. So, but we may have some guys miss this first week especially, so we still have some guys in class. And, you know, young team, 11 seniors, 70% of our roster is still freshmen and sophomores. A lot of unknowns on our team that need to be answered here in camp. And so that's what we're here to do, and looking forward to getting started tomorrow, and I'll open it up for any questions.
Please raise your hand. We'll get a microphone to you. And the first one goes to the Post and Courier, right?
Well,
You changed, didn't you?
Yeah, man.
I don't blame you. Go ahead.
You mentioned before how much confidence you have in Jake. Just once he gets out there, does he have the freedom to call his own series, call his own plays outside of the audibles when he sees a defensive set?
Well, there's no question that we give him a lot of latitude at the line of scrimmage, you know, based if we have a run to a run or a run to a pass or a pass to a run. Built in with that to get us to the best situation, and I think that's what you'll see more of that with us at the line of scrimmage as opposed to tempo. You know, obviously we still want to be able to create, dictate the tempo of the game, but to have that luxury at the quarterback's position certainly helps, but also the experience around him. You know, the offensive line experience coming back, the skill position experience coming back helps as well.
Well, what have you seen out of Jake coming into this year that gives you some positive hope that he's progressed and done what you wanted him to do in the offseason?
Well, I think that he had a really good off-season program before we had started spring ball, and then you see the progression in spring from the more and more that Coach Roper and our offensive staff continued to give him, the better and better he continued to perform and improve. He's in the building all the time watching tape. He's hanging out with the offensive line. He's hanging out with the defensive line. He's hanging out with the secondary guys. I mean, he understands what it takes to be the quarterback. And those are the things that I see, and obviously has all the intangible qualities to handle the situation. So I'm looking forward to seeing him play this year.
Well, how confident are you in the left side of the offensive line, specifically Malik Young at left tackle?
Well, I think, again, we've got some good competition there. And we're not settled at all across the line. You know, what is going to be our best combination of five, and then who is the sixth, who's the seventh, who's the eighth. You know, right now, those are some things we need to find out quickly in camp. Obviously, Darius Hutchinson's competing for that position. Dennis Daly's been a guy that we've been excited about since he's been on campus. But to find that best combination of five guys and go with it. And it's going to be, I told the team in a team meeting earlier today, we got a lot of competition in a lot of positions. And that's good for us as coaches because you got to bring it every single day. Consistency in your performance promotes us to be a very consistent football team. And the more competition you have, and you look at the really good programs, they got competition at every position. So guys understand they got to bring it every single day. And that's something that we're trying to promote more in our program. And I feel like now, I told the guys, we got more competition than we had a year ago, and that's good.
Right in the middle of the room, Dick.
How do you feel about your roster going into year two?
Well, again, I think that we're thin in some areas, especially in the front seven defensively. We can't afford an injury there. I think that we've got to continue to recruit for depth as a defensive lineman. If you want to play early, come to South Carolina. If there's an opportunity for you here, I can assure you of that. That's concerning. I think I'm concerned about our specialists. You talk in terms of your snapper, your both kicking situations. You're going to have new faces. That's concerning. I think obviously with the experience coming back offensively, and then obviously some guys that played extremely well at times. But we need to be more consistent, and we need to be tougher as an organization. And those things concern me going into this year. Because there's a fine line between practicing extremely physical and also staying healthy, and we need to do both.
Let's go to the back. Here, Mike.
Hey, Will.
Hey.
What do you expect to see from Sky this year, coming off from an injury, a pretty bad injury as well? Had to take off the whole year, especially going into really his first year under your defense.
Right. Well, I expect him to play extremely well, and I think he will. He had a great spring. He's probably feels like he's in the best shape he's been. He's up to 225. He's moving extremely well. I think that I'm expecting him to play extremely well.
Will, when you guys moved Zach Bailey to right tackle, what was the thinking there, and did you think at all about moving him to the left side, and how do you feel about the way it's gone so far with Zach over there?
Well, I think it's gone well, and certainly we're not settled at all about who's going to play right tackle and left tackle. I think Zach had a really good spring at right tackle. Felt like with Malik's experience and for an entire year of playing the tackle position that he could transition to the left tackle, and I think he's done that well. We have competition with Cedarius Hutcherson and Dennis Daly, two guys that are going to compete for that job, and Blake Camper's done a nice job at right tackle for us. So we feel that those five guys can compete and play good football for us. Now, does that mean that those guys are going to stay at those positions? No, we're going to find the best combination of five guys. It means moving Zach back inside. That's what we'll do to get our best five on the field.
Let's go to the right side of the room.
Coach, looking at getting Sky Moore back and having Bryson Allen Williams there in the linebacking core, as far as the secondary goes as well, how do we feel this year going into it, getting back that leadership at linebacker core? And what's your thoughts as far as the secondary from where we are now to last year?
Well, I feel like, obviously with Sky and Bryson Allen are two guys that have played a lot of football, that are two very well-respected guys within the locker room. And that means a lot. And they're two experienced players, but they're two very productive players as well. And in order to be a leader, you got to be a productive guy. You can't be a guy running your mouth all the time and you're not making any plays. And those guys do lead by example about how they prepare and how they practice and how they go about their business, but they're very productive. I think we've certainly improved ourselves in the secondary. DJ Smith had a fantastic spring. He needs to continue with that moving forward. Chris Lamons has done some really good things for us, and excited about it. Him to consistently play well. We need Jamarcus King and Rashad Fenton. We need some of the young guys and some of the new faces to fit into that mold of guys. We don't have enough depth back there, and we've got to continue to build that.
Coach, over here to your right. With Deebo Samuel, what are the most improvements you're looking for out of him this year, and do you think he has the goods to consistently maybe take a leap to be one of the elite receivers in the SEC this year?
Well, we've got to stay healthy. We've had some soft tissue issues, obviously, in high school, and since he's been at South Carolina, we got to stay healthy. I think we've got to better handle that administratively as coaches about work capacity and what he can handle, because everybody's different. So we'll certainly keep a close eye on that. But he's a guy, when he was healthy last year, I thought was an elite player in our league. I think he's a guy that's very dangerous from the ball in his hand. He's got really good lower body strength. He can run through tackles. He's much like a running back with the ball in his hand. So we've got to find different ways to get him and target him in the game 10 to 15 times. He needs to be touching the ball. And also, you look at what he does for us as a kick returner. He's had a return there against Western Carolina at the end of the season. But a guy that's explosive with the ball in his hands. And we've got to continue to be creative to find ways we can get him the ball, and people can't take that away from us.
Let's go way to the back.
Coach, two quick ones. Was Jake's experience gain noticeable during the spring in terms of the little things that we don't see, like reading defenses, like knowing the blocking schemes? And on defense, I know you're pushing a more physical style. Is that also necessary based on being a faster defense to be a more physical defense?
Well, I think, Jake's progress was made as much mentally as it was physically. Understanding where he's protected, when he's not protected, understanding about being able to manipulate, change the protection in the run games. All of those things are just, as the game continues to slow down for you as a player, and I think that's what we're starting to see. And the number of reps he's getting, and also the familiarity with the offense, but also the experience around him. I mean, it wasn't just the quarterback position. We had freshmen at receiver. We had a first-year starter at tight end. We had freshmen at the running back position. I mean, it was across the board last year. So I think all of that gained experience in year 2 in the system, understanding the verbiage and the terminology certainly will help. There's no question, I think, that we will be faster defensively this year, which we need to be. That doesn't always translate to physicality. We had a little bit of a Southern Belle defense last year, reach out and touch someone. So, we need to continue to be more physical in our organization, and certainly I don't know that speed always transferred to physicality.
Will, you mentioned the number of reps that Jake will get. Considering you kind of know what he can do, how vital is it to go ahead and rep the backups to find a definite number 2 QB?
I think Michael certainly has got arm talent to play the position extremely well, and Jay Urich will get every opportunity. And so, those guys, their reps are really important to us and proving to figure out who that guy will be.
Coach, obviously each year is its own, but going back to the tackling part, I know that was an aspect that you talked about a lot last season, being able to finish, being able to tackle. Do you change the approach up at all when you go into camp, being able to maybe focus on it a little bit more with some of those younger guys?
No, I mean, the emphasis will be the same. A lot of tackling has to do with want to. You guys got to want to do it, and that's part of the recruiting process and the evaluation process. You evaluate the guys that really enjoy the physicality of the game, and that's, I think this freshman class coming in, that was a huge part of the evaluation process, the guys that enjoy sticking their face in the fan and tackling. But you guys got to understand that, toughness, to me, a lot of ways comes down to the ability to run the ball against good people and the ability to stop the run against good people. But it's not just about the lines of scrimmage, because right now, with the way teams are blocking offensively, the ball's going to be on the perimeter. You've got to be tough in the secondary. You've got to be tough at the corner position. You've got to be tough at the safety, the nickel. You've got to be tough at wideout to block downfield and create explosive runs for your offense. I mean, it's an element of toughness that goes through all 11 guys. It's not just about both lines of scrimmage, and that's where we got to really challenge our guys to improve.
I think you may have just answered this in a roundabout way, but when you guys sit down as a staff and talk about what your offensive identity needs to be where y'all want to be, what is that? Like, is it toughness, being physical at the line? Is that simple as that?
First of all, do what it takes to win games. I mean, that's what you want to do on both sides of the ball. Let's do what we need to do to win games. All right. So, in a perfect world, we'd love to be balanced. You want to be balanced. As a defensive coach, it's hard to face offenses that are balanced, to have the equal ability to be able to run it and throw it. The ability to run the ball in critical situations such as end of the game, in the red zone, and short yardage and goal line, when you've got to be able to get the yards you need to get to get out of a game situation, to get out of a half situation. All of those things are very important, but put your players in the best situations where they can be successful. So philosophically, that's what we want. Obviously, as team goals are taking care of the ball offensively, getting the ball off people defensively, and then explosive plays offensively, taking away the explosives on defense. Because those are the two most critical factors in winning and losing games. We were 4-0 last year when we hit that quotient of turnovers and takeaways, and then explosive plays. And we continue to do that, you'll win some football games.
Way back to left, Jay.
Will, you talked to us at media days about creating adversity within the roster as you look to build that competition level and depth chart, that kind of thing. Can you give us some examples of what you and the coaches like to do in practice to literally create that adversity for guys?
Well, I think, obviously there'll be some times that, so-and-so's down, and you got to have a guy step up at the position and make a movement. I think to be able to cross-train certain guys at different positions, to create a little adversity in their life as far as the learning of offense and defense, but that creates depth. So it's not just about putting the next guy on the depth chart, it's about putting the best guy in the game that's going to help us win football games. So I think those things are critical to be able to do those in camp. But, camp's a grind, and it's going to be tough, and it's going to be hard. I've scripted the first 11 practices to our first scrimmage, and it's been scripted a certain way for a reason, to be physical, to have to battle through that. I met with our seniors. Championship teams that I've been a part of embraced camp. They understood that we're going to practice no matter what, and the schedule's not changing. So embrace that part of the camp, embrace the grind, embrace the toughness of what you've got to go through. The average teams I've been a part of bitched about camp, and that's the bottom line.
You finally get to get on the field with the ball with your freshman class. Are there any that pop in your mind immediately that you're really excited to see get on the field tomorrow?
All of them. You know, at the end of the day, I've been doing this a long time. In the recruiting process, you think you have an idea who's going to help you and where they're going to fit, and then you get on the practice field, and it's maybe not exactly what you thought, and there's been guys you didn't think you were going to play. We don't make any decisions on redshirting or anything till after camp's over. So we get all the information, and it's really not about who's going to help you week 1 and who's going to help you week 4. Because they may not be ready week 1, but they may be ready, and they may be a better athlete and a better player as you project. As you move through the season, it's a long year, and that's what we're coaching for is the entire season.
What are your thoughts on Alexander Wozniak taking over Elliott Fry's position?
Well, it's a huge, again, that's one of the concerns that you asked me earlier about camp is making sure that Alex, I think, certainly has the ability to accomplish and do everything that we need him to do at the position, but he's never done it in front of 80,000 people before. So that's a huge, and I can't simulate that in camp. So to try and put him in as many pressure situations as we can, we will, but I certainly have a lot of confidence in Alex.
You mentioned cross-training earlier. How much of that will you do in the secondary, and can you name some guys who may play both safety, corner, nickel?
Well, Chris Lamons will play all positions, nickel, safety, corner, and dime, so he can be able to do that and handle that. We're going to train Jam Williams both at nickel and corner. Keeson is going to be a guy that we're going to train at nickel and safety and possibly at corner, but, we got to see how he's handling all of that so far. Jamarcus and Rashad will stay strictly in Taven Jackson at the corner position. So that's kind of right now. Stephen Montack can play everything. He can play corner, he can play safety, he can play nickel. So you got to be able to have guys interchangeable because of injury and targeting and the different things that happen through a season where you lose a guy in the middle of a game, and you've got to be able to transition to get your best people out there. But those guys, off the top of my head, leave Zay Brown at safety, leave Jalen Dickerson at safety, let them saturate and learn everything they need to do, and that'll probably be about it.
Just across the offseason, what's the progress been for Evan Hinson, especially working around the basketball stuff?
Looks really good. He got done with the Final Four. He was in our building on the next time he could be there. But he's up to over 240 pounds. He looks great. He runs extremely well. Athletically, he's a guy that certainly should contribute on special teams. And depending on how he competes through camp, how he should compete and help us at tight end. No doubt we're counting on him.
Well, what have you seen from T.J. Brunson that makes you believe that he can start for your defense?
Well, I think that, he has a lot of the intangibles you look for at the position. He's a very good communicator. It's really important to T.J. to play well. I mean, he's a real self-conscious guy as far as that sort of stuff's concerned. He has the physicality and all the physical attributes you're looking for. He can run extremely well and strike and hit, and he's extremely bright. So I think he has all of that except for much of the experience that he's going to need to gain, and that's why you have training camp.
Coach, real quick, chemistry on and off the field, very big deal as we get late in the quarters, we get late in the year, attitudes start to flare up a little bit. But what you did with the guys, taking them out on the boat, taking them out, and you see that across college football and even high school football where these guys are really building a bond off the field. Coach, can you tell us a little bit about how important that is to you and how you've maybe seen the game of college football and just football in general change a little bit more to the athletes today than what we used to have?
I don't know that the student athletes change. I think our society's changed a little bit. I think that it's important for those guys to see you as a father and a husband and not just as a coach, and see you out of the coaching mold a little bit. I think it's important, and we're going to coach our guys hard here, and our guys understand that, but they understand that we have their best interests at heart. They understand that as well. So it's more than just caring about them as a player. It's about, first of all, you care about them as a person, and that's the most important thing. And our guys understand that. I mean, they've figured that part of it out, that everybody in this organization is here to service the player. And if it weren't for the players, we wouldn't have a job. So it's our job to service the players, hold them accountable, make them dependable, but also understand we're here to service the player.
Coach, at SEC Media Days, you challenged Dante, Taylor, and Ulrich to kind of play better this season as seniors. What necessarily do they have to do to play better? Is it stopping the run? Is it rushing the passer?
Well, I didn't necessarily say play better. I just said they need to play well for us to play well defensively. And that's something we struggled consistently, stopping the run versus good people. And in order to stop the run, you need to have your senior leaders step up and play well on the line of scrimmage. So we just need for those guys to play well.
Coach, when you came in here last year, obviously the guys trying to figure you out, trying to figure about what you're bringing to the table and trying to get understanding what you expect out of them. Heading into year 2, though, you personally, what's different about Will Muschamp sitting up there today than maybe a year ago?
Well, I think anytime you're in year 2 or 3 or 4, you always have a little better understanding of your football team, your roster, how they're going to respond. And you know, I'm excited about the culture of our team right now, the amount of ownership that Jeff Dillman and his staff have seen throughout this summer. The guys are, you know, invested in what we're trying to do, and they're owning their experience. I mean, I always talk to the guys about you either rent your experience or you own it, one or the other. You're the one that makes that decision. And so own your opportunity you have here at the University of South Carolina. I feel like there's much more buy-in as far as that's concerned.
Will, how much control does Kurt have over the offense? How much input do you have with what he's trying to do offensively?
Well, we're going to be on the same page philosophically what we're going to be, but Kurt calls everything. So he runs the offense, and as long as we're on the same page in what we want to be and do, then that's doing what our players can do. It's not about what we want to be. It's about what can our players do.
Way back, straight back.
Coach, you said that you have the first 11 practices scripted out, especially with a young team. How much are you building on what you worked with the team in spring, and how much are you adding, making new stuff to add to the roster?
Well, we've already got our installation set through our first scrimmage. So as coaches, we always make decisions as we may set the installation and alter it based on how the guys are doing, but we need to continue to progress our team. So there may be a smaller portion of our team that we don't do as much installation with just to find out what they can do, because in that first scrimmage is not going to be complicated. I need to see who can go out and play and how they're going to handle with the coaches off the field and see how our guys handle it. So those are the decisions you got to make as you work through your installation. But you can't hold your whole team up for a small portion that are struggling to learn what we're trying to do. You got to continue to move forward, and we'll go back and reteach as we get through the second and third weeks of camp.
How has Shamik Blackshear changed from this time last year to now on and off the field, and how can he help your team this year on the field?
Well, he's a lot stronger because he's had a year of lifting where he missed that last year. So there's no doubt his body's changed. He's up over 260, but he's gotten stronger. And I think anytime you gain more strength and you gain better change of direction, you have better flexibility, then you gain confidence in what you're trying to do. So that certainly is going to help him. And I think you just got to be a consistent playmaker for us. At the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. We evaluate practice, and how you're going to practice normally is how you're going to play in the game. So be a more consistent guy on the field.
Hey, Will, a couple months ago, Jake kind of made a few headlines with a comment that saying that he didn't think you guys in Clemson, that was much difference between the two of you. Curious, as a coach, do you kind of cringe at a situation where you know he's going to get some feedback nationally, or do you kind of like that he's out there kind of taking some swings at the rival and kind of leading that? And what does it kind of say about his voice of the team, leadership, and how that's developed over his first year?
Well, we weren't close that night, so let's just call it the way it is. You got out-coached and outplayed. So, but I certainly appreciate his confidence in what he believes. So we stand by our guys.
Last year, Rendricus gets his feet wet as a true freshman and then immediately is kind of out of it with that injury. What was it like to watch him go through that, and what kind of position is he in to start this camp?
It's extremely frustrating anytime a young player, any player, but especially a young player, when they have an injury that ends their season, the frustrations for them set in. Because a lot of times when you're injured and you're not at practice, you're in the training room getting treatment, you don't really feel a part. And you're going through that. My freshman year, I broke my collarbone, and you don't feel a part of the organization. You're a part of everything, but you're not a part. You're not a part of what the team is going through. And so that is extremely, especially for a young player, frustrating. But he's battled through it, and he's a guy that certainly can help our football team. He's extremely talented. We got to keep him healthy, and that's the most important thing. And he understands that, and he's stayed positive through this. And I think obviously anytime you face some adversity like this, it helps you grow up a little bit. And I think he has. And but he's a young man we're excited about. Yeah.
Somebody in the back. Dwayne.
What's the story behind the new recruiting area, and why is it important to improve that area where the guys come in for game days?
Well, I think we're always trying to, improve our brand and what we can do. So certainly, the entrance and exit side was an issue with compliance, because you can't really have the recruits mingling with fans, with our boosters. So that was an issue there. That was why that was created. And then the news entrance side was another way just to show off our stadium and make it a little more appealing as you come around and walk into the weight room and then into the cruise facility, which we house all of our recruits on game day.
Coach, building off that, what are the changes you expect to see with all the new things with the game day experience, like the in-house DJ and things like that?
Well, really, that's about it. I mean, I felt like that we just, in talking to our players and recruits, and it may not appease some of our fans, but it's not going to take away anything that what our band does at the game. Our band does a fantastic job, and the excitement that they bring to our football team and to our game day experience, it will not affect anything that has to do with what our band does on game day. It's more of a pre-game activity for our players, which we played music anyways in those situations. Maybe the music might be a little better. I don't know. And I'm not in charge of the music list there. And then during the game when we normally played music is when the DJ will play, when the band is not playing. So it's not going to affect our band at all in that part of our game day atmosphere, which I think is fantastic.
Hey, Coach, it's pretty obvious that a lot of players, still have the end of last season on their minds. The Clemson loss, USF lost to Florida. In your experience, is it better to get those things out? Is it better to talk about it, especially with so many guys coming back, or is it better to leave it in 2016?
I think every individual is different, and some guys are ready to move on and put it behind them, and some guys use it as motivation. I think it's all to an individual experience and how you view it. And if it motivates you to play a little harder and to focus a little better, I'm all for it. If it helps you to move on past it and put it behind you, I'm all for it. But it's something that was there and it's not going away.
I see some guys on Twitter the last couple of days kind of shut down their account, say goodbye to their Twitter followers. It's football season. Is that a policy you enforce, or is that all on them?
That's all on them. I met with the team today, and we addressed social media and the positive impact it can have in marketing your brand and things like that, but also the negative impact it can have. And when you press send, it's over, or tweet, or whatever you do. So, our guys just need to be smart, and we don't want to, talk about or football activities and things like that on the internet. That's no one else's business. What happens here stays here. And our guys understand that, and I just ask them to use good judgment. I'm not going to be the Twitter police. That's not something I care to do. So I let our guys use good judgment and make good choices and decisions.
Anything else for Coach?
Can you talk about the opportunity of going up to Charlotte first game and playing neutral field, NC State, a good NC State football team?
Absolutely. I think they're Dave's best team. I think you look at their front four and a backup's going to be, they got 5 draft picks up front. They're outstanding in their front 7. Get the ball in the perimeter on offense, do a really nice job. Samuels is a hard guy to ID as far as some of the things he's doing, the quarterback's experience. So we got our work cut out for us. We got to work on us right now, though. But to go to Bank of America Stadium and open up in Charlotte, a place that we need to do a much better job recruiting. And again, love the state of South Carolina, but year in, year out, we're not going to find enough guys in our state to help us win the East. And we've got to do a great job in Georgia and North Carolina recruiting. That's a huge footprint for us, and to be the exposure in Charlotte will be huge for us. For our guys to be able to go play in that stadium, I think will be a lot of fun, and I know our guys are looking forward to it.
When you sat down to plan out the preseason schedule, how much, if at all, did the eclipse factor into that week?
We're practicing. I mean, are you kidding?
We practiced at night. I didn't know if it was on purpose.
No. What day is the eclipse going to happen? Okay. Do we have to shut our eyes when it happens or something? I have no idea. I'm not very good with that kind of stuff.
How do you go about determining who's going to start at running back the first game? We've got 3 guys who are obviously competing pretty hard.
Who practices the best, prepares the best, who takes care of the ball? I mean, who's the most productive guy? And then whoever that guy is will be the guy that carries the ball a bunch on game day. So that'll be determined by them, not me. It's real simple. I mean, it's just that's what helps you when you have competition. And you got guys you got to know every single day. You got to go to practice and practice extremely hard because unfortunately we're not all self-starters. You know, you got to have guys pushing guys constantly to understand they all want to play and they don't want to be sitting on the sidelines by me. So that's whoever the most productive guys, the guys are going to play.
Coach, last year Donnell Stanley had the real tough injury in the opener. Talk to us about how he's doing, and do you do anything different with that situation? You kind of mentioned with Debo's, situation.
Well, that was more of a structural issue, wasn't a soft tissue issue. So with the ankle, he had actually the first play of the game against Vanderbilt, played another 8 snaps. How he played those 8, I'll never know. He's a lot tougher than me, but he is a guy that's done a really nice job for us at the guard position. We look for him to progress. He's a guy that can get movement inside in the inside run game. He's athletic enough to set inside on some of the better 3 techniques in our league and protect. But we're expecting Donnell to play well.
Last year, your guys' pass defense did a pretty good job of preventing big plays. Do you feel like you guys kind of have that identity sort of a little bit set, at least in that part of the defense?
Well, again, I think that the biggest issue for me was a lot of the perimeter run game and screen game. And a lot of people say it's a pass. I mean, if you throw a quick screen or a bubble, it's really a run game as far as what I'm concerned. And that's where we really faltered defensively as far as setting the edges of our defense and tackling well in space. That's something we've got to continue to improve on. We're going to spend a lot of time on it in camp, but we spent a lot of time on it last year. Again, a lot of that comes down to want to. Again, I think being more opportunistic, as the year wore on, we were not as much in the secondary as far as interceptions and those things are concerned, finishing on the ball down the field. But again, you got to stay away from explosive plays because that changes the vertical field position of the game and certainly creates momentum for the other team, and that's something we got to stay on top of guys and keep them cut off down the field.
I guess you feel pretty good about your starting 3 linebackers, but after that, there's not a whole lot of experience or
There's not. There's zero experience.
So
never. There's none.
There's no experience behind those 3 guys. How many more players from the group of the inexperienced guys and no experienced guys do you need to kind of step up to feel comfortable?
As
about
many
the
as
depth of the
as many
position?
as that are willing. I think we recruited well at the position. I think Sherrod Green's going to be a really good player. Damani Staley's done some nice things. Devon Bowen, Brad Johnson's we're going to start him out as a buck right now. But I mean, it is what it is. I mean, that's where we are right now, and we got to. Those guys are going to have an opportunity. We told them in the recruiting process, you come here, you're going to have an opportunity. And we lose Sky and Bryce are 2 seniors. So any of those linebackers out there listening, come on. You're going to have an opportunity. If you want to play, or if you don't, go somewhere else.
In terms of making improvements, just areas that were a little bit weaker last year, run defense, things like that, what's the balance between just hoping guys progress and coaching them up versus making some systematic tweaks?
Well, I think systematically you certainly can do some things differently, and we've done a lot of quality control work on ourselves to find out what we can do to improve and to put our guys in a better situation, and are we asking him to do something he can't do? And that's always my question to the staff. Are we asking them to do things they can't do? Because if a guy can't play man-to-man, we don't need to be playing man-to-man with him. So let's play some zone. So I think those are things that you constantly ask yourself as a coach, but I think that we've made some strength gains in the weight room. I think that I've seen that across the board. I think some guys are, from a fundamental and technique standpoint, understand a little bit more how we want to play. So I think always when you take the next step as a player, understanding those basic fundamentals is really important. And it all ties in together. I think the knowledge of the scheme and system is going to help us with our run fits and things like that. We did misfit some things last year, which hurt us. That was not really physical, more mental than it was anything else from the secondary and the linebacker position. So I think across the board, all those things should be better.
Anything else for Coach? No, we'll let him go.
All right.
Appreciate everybody.
Thank you.
We'll have Jake Bentley in here in just a couple minutes.